Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. And I'm coming to you from my front yard. It's Wednesday afternoon. I'm at home, and I thought I'd just pump out another 5am Club, and to continue along the theme that I started this morning. Just continuing to pull some points out of a book summary that I recently read, an awesome book summary from a wonderful author, a wonderful orator, and a leader, an absolute leader in their fields, Jim Rohn, who has since passed away, but I had the benefit many years ago to see him live and go to one of his seminars and learn from him firsthand in terms of the wisdoms that he had and the style that he used. He had a very simple style. He was very matter of fact, but very, very potent and very profound in his teachings. So the book that I'm continuing today is entitled The 4 Pillars, the 12, not 4, 12. The 12 Pillars, and it's written by Jim Rohn. And the thing that I'm going to focus on today is communication. Communication, which is critical. It's critical for all of us, regardless of what age you are. Communication is key, and we need to learn and relearn the skills of communication, because I think with time we tend to forget. Over the years, what I've noticed is a lot of people tend to just jump in. You're talking, and people would just interrupt, disrupt your what you're trying to say, and then blurt out what they want to say, which really isn't communication. It's just monologue. So and as Jim Rohn says, is that most people are not listening to what you're saying. Most people are just looking for an entry point, just to express themselves, as opposed to listening to your viewpoint and coming back and complementing and supplementing what you're saying. So Jim Rohn makes a very, very bold statement, which is powerful, and I think it's something that we can all learn from. And his statement is as follows: it's not just what you say. A lot of people think that just the words, it's all about the words. So you can mechanically just say words, and those words will reach their target and have the desired effect. But what Jim Rohn says is it's not the volume of words, it's not the quantity of words, it's not the quality of words, it's not even words. But he says it's more than just the words, because we all have different interpretations of what he said. So you can read something, and if you hear somebody saying it, or if you discuss it, or if you dialogue it, it may be a completely different experience. So it's more than just the words. So Jim Rohn says, and I'll read it. Let me pop my glasses on for a second, just so I get it right first time. He says it isn't just what you say, it's how you say it, when you say it, and the receptiveness of the person you are saying it to. It's pretty complicated. It's simple yet complicated. And he also says that, and that's just half of the story. That's just half of the communication loop. The other half is listening. So let's just expand on that for a little while. And we'll start from the top again. So as he said, it's just not the words, you know. A lot of people think that they've got the gift of the gab, and they just blah, 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 blah. And I think that just by jawboning whatever they have to say, that the other person will be seduced into following whatever you're saying and just believing whatever you're saying and thinking that you are the oracle of all knowledge. How many people think that they are so much smarter than everybody else? You almost want to bloody throw up sometimes, because everybody's clever, everybody's smart. It's just that everybody has a different mode of communication. They have a different way of communicating, and we've all got different skills when it comes to communications. Some people, as we said before, are good at talking, chat away. But the chatting, the talking, isn't the be all or end all. Because as Jim Rohn says, it's not just what you say. But it's important to say it's not just. What you say is important. You've got to have substance. You've got to know what you're talking about. You can't just have an opinion and think that because you've got an opinion, that opinion has weight, or that opinion is worthy of people listening to, following, or being influenced by it. All right, so let's get that straight from the beginning. So you need to do the work. You need to educate yourself. You need to read. You need to study. You need to contemplate. You need to think, and you need to consider first, second, and third consequences of everything you say, because everything you say and do impacts not only you, but it also impacts the people around you in a positive or a negative way. So be mindful of that. And as Jim Rohn says, it's not just what you say, but just as importantly as what you say is how you say it. There are ways of communicating. There is communication etiquette. There are effective ways of getting your message across. And browbeating somebody is not as effective as what you think it is. You've got to say something in a way that the other person will welcome and listen to and want to receive it. And as they say, you'll catch more bees with honey than what you'll catch with something else. So learning the art of shaping what you're saying and getting the timing right. So it's getting what you're saying to be put in a way which is empowering, something that the other person will immediately understand and capture the whiffum, what's in it for me. That'll get their attention, and that'll get them thinking about whether or not listening to you is worthwhile. Because at the end of the day, we're all looking for what benefit we will receive by taking advice or listening to what you have to say. So it's not just what you say, but how you say it and when you say it. So when you say it is also important. You don't tell people things at a time when they're distracted. You don't tell people things at a time when they're most sensitive to what you're saying. You don't say it first thing in the morning if the person that you're saying it to is not a morning person. You've got to pick the time. Not only do you have to pick what you're saying, you've also got to pick how you say it, and also you've got to pick when to say it. So the big mistake that people do is they nag, using the shotgun approach. And they think that sooner or later they'll hear me, sooner or later they'll listen to me. But I've got to tell you what happens, and we're all the same. I'm no different to you, and you're no different to the person next door to you. What happens is that when people nag and say the same thing over and over again, like a broken record, you just switch off. You just don't hear what they're saying because it's all just white noise. and it just blends into the background. And switching off is dangerous. And you've got to understand that in a relationship, with friendships, you've got to learn to pick your timing and not just blurt out whatever you want, whenever you want, and be confrontational, be insensitive, be disruptive, because you do it enough times, then your channel of communication will be forever muted, and people will just write you off as being a pain, somebody who's difficult to deal with, somebody who's always going to cause grief, and regardless of what conversation you have, it's always going to lead to confrontation or to a fight or to sorry about that, saying something which is going to piss each other off. So let me just have another look at what Jim Rohn said. So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it, when you say it, and the last one is the receptiveness of the person that you're saying it to. You know, you've got to be able to read the other person. You've got to be able to understand if what you're saying, A, is getting through, B, is welcomed, you know, because if you're saying things to somebody else, if you're chatting to somebody else, and the tone of your message or the content of your message or the timing of your message is not right, you will see it in their demeanor. You'll see it in their mannerisms. You will see it in their body language. So you need to be a detective of opportunity and effectiveness, because the key to communication, let's put it blunt now, the key to communication is not to be efficient, it's to be effective. You don't have to say a lot to make a point. You don't have to say many words to somebody to get to their heart, mind and soul. You know, just 5 words or 2 sentences in terms of how you feel or what you're thinking at the right moment can capture them forever. So be wary of the verbal diarrhea, of the whinging, the whining, the shotgun approach to communication, because you may not be effective and you may not be efficient at the same time either. So learn the art of communication by following people who are good communicators, and learning from your friends around you. You'll be able to spot who's the good communicator, who the good storyteller is, who the person with substance is, and who people want to listen to. Just take some time to identify and appreciate what their skill set is, and ask them, what is it that they do which is really effective? And learn. Have a mentor, have a communication mentor. This is imperative for young people to learn how to communicate. And as I said before, that the one side is important, but the other side is the listening. 50% of communication is listening, if not more than 50%. A lot of people say that you need to spend more time listening to understand what the other person is talking about, find common ground, and then build from there. And that's one of the points that Jim Rohn talks about, is that the biggest mistake that people do is they try and sort things out by starting with the differences, and that just ain't gonna happen. If you start your conversations with the differences, how you going, Willie? If you start your conversations with the differences, I'll be in a second, man. If you start your conversations with the differences, then you're just going to go on a tangent from there and go askew. So the trick is, in terms of communication, is to listen and to first put all your energies into identifying the common ground. What do we both have in common in terms of the topic that we're talking about, and to establish a baseline of understanding, a heads of agreement. And then from that baseline, then you start expanding from there and growing and building until you get to your points of disagreement. And hopefully by the time you get to the points of disagreement, you have agreed on so many other points that the points of disagreement are less than relevant anymore. So it's a building game. It's a game. It's a game that you need to learn how to play. Identify what you got in common first, what you share in common, and build that, establish that, and then build it from there. And I think we're coming to the end. That's about it. Thank you very much for joining me on Jim's 5am Club from my home here, my front yard. I'm just sitting, lying on the grass, just chilling out, relaxing. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. And thank you once again for joining me on Jim's 5am Club. And I hope that we all got something out of today's book summary from Jim Rohn on the 12 pillars. The 12 pillars, and one of those pillars that we talked about and mulled over was the art and science of communication. And what we learnt was that it's not just what you say, but how you say it, when you say it, and whether or not the person that you're talking to is receptive to receiving it and hearing it. So there you go. I hope it was useful, or just as useful to you as it is and it was for me. And I look forward to coming to you again tomorrow at 5am from another location with another message, a book summary, an observation, a song, a philosopher. Who knows what it'll be. It'll come to me at some point, and we'll just go from there. So thank you very much for joining me on Jim's 5am Club, and we'll chat again. Yassas, take care, and bye for now. Cheerio.